Hello and welcome to Gifted Underachievers, the podcast for mid-level creatives with delusional ambitions. In this segment, James and I discuss what we know, what we can do, what we can sell or make that doesn't require the huge outlay of intellectual capacity, knowledge, skill, but is more of a so-called volume piece that will give us a little bit of breathing room between the bigger projects. Hope you enjoy.
Hey, Pat.
Yes, James.
I'm down here at the GU flea market.
Yes.
Logging some of our old, basement finds. And, there's the usual assortment of mason jars and, coffee tins filled with nuts and bolts and various odds and ends.
Yeah.
A surprising number of golf balls and manacles.
Oh, well, that's funny because we've only ever had the one prisoner, John Irving.
I know. We we get so excited about all the accoutrement.
I know.
That we've kind of collected. It's like we're the overzealous pet owner.
You know what? I was just thinking every time I'm out and about, if I see manacles, I'm picking one up because, it's good to have a backup set.
Yeah, we've got purple, pink, blue. It's just the rainbow, tiger. It's all over everything.
We should have a whole table and we should repaint them all yellow and sort of dark brown to be on brand with GU's logo of the buzzy bees.
Yeah, we need. Yes, shockingly, there's no bees.
This is a problem. Yeah, you know what? We need a little make work project, so we have a little product we can sell.
Mm-hmm. But what's interesting is we have sold out of remember those mud flaps with the outline of the naked woman painting.
Yes.
And then GU up above.
Yeah.
So the GU mud flaps sold out.
That's so weird.
Yeah. We had thousands of them, I think.
I mean, if we don't know, who does?
Yeah. And, it got me to thinking that was there an unsaturated market for mud flaps that we tapped into accidentally?
Yeah.
With the or the Gifted Underachievers flea market table?
Yeah. Yeah. I think there must have been. I'm just guessing. My possible answers are yes, no, or maybe, and I'm saying it's a yeah.
Yeah. So, that brings me to the next question is we've been talking about, or we have talked about, unsustainable lives.
Oh.
And how can we address this? I'll leave it to you to define unsustainable. What we're talking about from our creative perspective.
Well, to me, unsustainable is relying on, a very labor intensive aspect of our business for all of its income. So you and I both do similar. You're a ghostwriter, so you're talking about writing a book for someone else, and you have a 6 to 12 month turnaround. Let's say you get 5 or 6 projects in a year, or I don't know how many you can possibly turn around, but you have these big blocks, labor intensive, and then you and I both do developmental editing, which are smaller blocks, but also quite labor intensive because you're taking somebody's, nascent draft and helping them make it a book. So like a book that matters. So, and has meaning. So they're both very much a one-on-one thing. You're one-on-one with the manuscript, with the client. If there's a hole in your schedule, that's a large chunk of change that goes missing from your bank account. And so unsustainability to me is about not being able to take time off, not being able to gear back on something because you have a big crisis at home or a health crisis. Just being forced to constantly produce at a very high level with good quality, and the fact that can feel like manacles actually sometimes because you're not free to live the rest of your life. You are so focused on doing this one thing that you do very well. And yeah, so that's what I consider to be my version of an unsustainable life.
Yeah.
Every year I come up 2 or 3 times into a situation where for me to be able to sustain all aspects of the situation, or it takes incredible tenacity and energy and willpower.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I feel
Right.
like I'm going to run out, you know?
Yeah, yeah. And so, there's no space for all kinds of things.
Yeah.
This adjacent work crowds everything out. And it's not just the actual work, it's the marketing of the work, it's
Hmm.
the all the stuff that has to go on around it. Mixed in with the people who need you and the things that you just need to do to kind of get by. And so we were thinking about this idea that by definition, if you have reached mid-level creative status,
Hmm.
right, you have crossed a certain threshold where there's a quality to your work, there's a level of experience, professionalism that you're bringing to it. And this
Yeah.
is no matter if you're a writer, painter, actor, no matter who you are,
Hmm.
you have reached this point where you credibly have skills,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
you're carrying around a lot of knowledge as well in your brain.
Hmm.
That has to mean something. And there's value to that.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people often then say, well, I'm going to take this thing of value that I have and and I don't think most or all people, but they kind of look then at, oh, I've got to go to social media with this, or I've got to go to here, I've got to go to there, and they keep bouncing into these very saturated markets. And I think a lot of the times it's because the people who are giving advice are saying this is where you need to go and this is what you need to do.
Hmm.
And so the one of the points I think we're trying to get at is, and we don't have, the big answers. Like we'd love to be able to tell people, here's where the unsaturated market is for the thing that you have. But it's really trying to think, you know, what are the skills, knowledge, experience that I have that do have value where somebody who's starting out would find value, somebody else hasn't seen from my perspective. And so, how do you find ways to utilize that where you're not just entering another saturated space?
Yeah.
And and it it reminds me of my recent uh Zoom thing that I was on, where I won't get into too many specifics because I don't want to pull people out, but there were two people in it who I have a lot of respect for, who run organizations that I have a lot of respect for.
And it was a
And
webinar of some kind or a
it was a
meeting?
webinar
A
of some kind.
webinar? Okay.
And they were involved with these two people who are very cheesy about the fact that they're just marketing, right? They're just trying to sell stuff and
Yeah.
like over exuberance, uh, crazy, just sort of vibe, and I mean, like a Chiv Bibber kind of guy
Yeah.
who's like, you need to do this. I'm so excited about that. It's like, so how, like, you don't want to get into that, right? And, and that felt like people who are trying to market into something that's saturated, and they feel like if we just throw so much energy into it, it's,
Mm. Yeah.
but the other thing is, life is already unsustainable. So you've got to be able to do something that has space.
Yeah. So just to get a little bit more concrete, what people, who know something about a particular creative industry, and I would say also, you could include carpenters, potters, anything really that
Mhm.
is a skill, craft, art, where you're making a living doing that work or doing very adjacent work that people pay you for your expertise in that field to do. Um, the kinds of things I've seen, excuse me, as a sort of you could call it a, almost like a volume piece. If you were a potter, and you're making beautiful sculptures as part of, not so much maybe on the wheel, but you're doing these very artistic pieces that you are placing, say, in high-end shops or galleries, you also need a mug that has enough of your personality in it that, or your vibe in it, that people will go, I want that person's mug. I don't want a mug from HomeSense or,
Mhm.
Winners or wherever. So it could be thought of as a volume piece. I see it in our field of writing, publishing as sometimes online subscription communities where you found a
Mhm.
community, you have a platform that you use. Could be Circle, could be, I don't know what's common now. I think it used to be Slack, maybe. Anyway, there's a whole bunch of other ones, Butter, and you have people pay you a certain amount of money a month to hang out in there online and form, they consume some of your educational material that might be like a sort of a library of videos or books, and they also communicate with each other, so they feel like they're not alone in this creative pursuit. So you're kind of, as a mid-level or upper mid-level, you're selling your expertise and your community building um, to more sort of entry level or novice creatives in that same field. Uh, so that kind of thing. It could be actually a book, but that you sell, it could be a download that is good enough that you can actually sell it and not just offer it for free. So there's kind of the concrete, could be a webinar, could be a
Mhm.
course. Those are the concrete examples of what we're talking about right now. And our question that we're exploring is, if you don't, if you want to make something of that nature, how do you know what's going to make yours different from everybody else? Where's the unsaturated opportunity? Everybody's got an online community, maybe, or a subscription community. Everybody's got a little book or a download or a webinar. Maybe not everybody, but if you don't have one yet and you're thinking, oh, maybe I should do a webinar, that I can sell for $10 or $25 or whatever. And it's just about stuff I already know. And then you think about the amount of energy and time it takes to create something interesting that's different that you can then market, how you know how to market it, where you're gonna, it becomes its own project. And so you kind of want to know at the beginning, is this an unsaturated area that I'm making this for? Or is it just going to become one of those mothballed things I had that I tried and it didn't work out? And I
Mhm.
spent hours on it in a year where I really was burnt out, thinking that it would move the needle in my basic, ongoing income so that I could afford to skip a large project if something came up, or I could afford to stretch out my turnaround times on stuff. Um, you know, you want to kind of pick something good. And so what we're curious about is, A, is there is that the, is there another way to do it? I mean, I'm definitely diversifying in terms of how much time I spend on one work. Um,
Mhm.
but I'm taking on something equally time consuming, which is teaching. And so I'm trying to find ways to navigate, having something just more that I do at once. It's not really a set it and forget it, but I do have
Mhm.
more than one thing that I can do. So it's the diversifying actually is about it, is what it's about in some ways, but it's also about having this very entry level price kind of packaging up a piece of your expertise or a piece of your art. And how do you know what to do? Like, how do you figure that part out?
Yeah. And, I think one thing to say is, unsaturated doesn't mean empty, right?
No, it can't be, right?
And it doesn't mean that you have to go out and reinvent the wheel, or
Hmm.
that you have to be, completely the leading innovator going into a space where no one has ever gone before, kind
Yeah.
of thing, right?
Yeah.
It's really just about saying, you know what, the herd is going this way. um, I'm gonna go the other way,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
try and use that as a way to get a little bit of attention. And I also think about who is it, Jason Klebold, who wrote Steal Like an Artist, and then
Austin Kleon, I think.
That's it, thank you. And then the Daily Rituals guy,
Yeah, Mason Curry.
Mason Curry. And they're writers and artists who have serious practices that they were working on, and they just had these little curiosities, right?
Mm, mm,
And so one sort of said, we build on the shoulders of others, and here's
mm,
how I'm doing it. And another person said, I'm really curious about how other creatives spend their day.
yeah,
And what is their routine?
yeah.
And and it turned out that those little curiosities became the thing that has now defined them, right? It
Hmm.
doesn't mean that they're not doing their other writing and art, but they've become very well known, and they kind of I know for me the daily rituals thing really struck a chord.
Yeah.
It was fascinating because it shot down so many shibboleths of
Mm,
should or should not be doing. So I think that's an important piece of it, is that it doesn't have to be super duper hard, and it can involve a certain amount of experimentation, right?
yeah.
So
And,
um,
and to recognize too that those two are outliers, in that their volume piece, if you want to think about
mhm,
it that way, um, became popular. So
yeah,
what we're thinking about for their run-of-the-mill mid-level is, you're not looking at it as, wow, this really become popular. It's more like, wow, can I sustainably do this in a way that um,
mhm,
allows me to ease up on some of the other aspects of my business? And if so, what is different enough that it will be easier basically to market
yeah,
and interesting to me personally. So you're not going out there and going, well, shit, man, I know a lot about how to make a course. I should make a course on how to make a course out of what you know. Um,
mhm,
because that's just a million people have done it. They've done it better. I got no interest in that. So there's certain things you can reject, but is there kind of a framework, actually? Maybe that's what we're asking. Is there kind of a framework where you can Q&A your way down it and go, okay, well, here's an idea then.
ooh, yeah, boy, I like that Q&A your way down it.
Yeah.
Um, follow a logic path that leads you where you want to go,
Yeah. And
kind
I
of thing.
think,
And I
mhm,
think that sustainable piece, one of the things that we talk about, you and I, when we talk about, our marketing, we're great at ideas, right?
yeah,
And, and saying, oh, here's a great idea of something we could do. Here's another great idea of something we could do. And then we, you know, sort of start on it, but it takes more time. The other things are more important and more immediate. And one of the things that we've been learning is really breaking things down into very, very small iterative steps and trying to find things that are not hugely complicated.
yeah,
That you can don't feel overwhelming to start, and practical to do.
yeah,
And so I think that sustainable, keep it simple. It doesn't have to reinvent the wheel. I use these other examples because they did, one just was like a blog, like here,
yeah.
I'm exploring this kind of thing.
Mm,
And so, yeah, what is that logic path?
hmm.
Uh, and I think maybe the first step would be just listing, what do I do? What do I know? Or maybe, what do I do and what are the skills that are involved?
Hmm.
And what do I know about what I do?
Yeah, yeah,
What are the facts or ideas or concepts that I have that feel unique to me, right? That
yeah,
I've, and nothing is ever truly unique, but,
yeah.
and I
Fair enough.
starting out list maybe is a way to go.
Yeah, and I think you could also look at, if you're in the type of industry we're in, where we deal with clients on their books. What are the things that I've
Mhm.
written that I consistently send to clients as a way to help them through the next step of what they
Mhm.
need to do with their book? So I have a lot of PDFs that I've written, and lists of how to research agents, how to do this, how to do that. Yes, that information's out there.
Mhm.
Yes, other people may have done it, but I have done it in a way that I know for sure works. And so it's kind of a no-brainer. It already exists, you know. I'm not saying put that exact piece of paper up and sell it for $5. I'm saying think about that. Potentially things that you send to clients as a follow-on or an adjunct to your work together. Because everything isn't bespoke in our industry. Obviously, there's things that you've already explained to someone once. You don't need to rewrite the whole part and explain it again. You have that
Right,
information. So
right.
why would you think it through every time you write it? You wouldn't. You'd just pop it in and massage it for their particular circumstances. And anyway, so things like that might be also, I'm just thinking, I'm just spitballing here. Things
Yeah.
that
Oh yeah.
when
Yeah. A lot
people
of
find
spitballing.
out, yeah, things that when people find out what kind of work you do, they always ask you. They ask you those questions. Maybe you can't sell that, but maybe you can think about a way that you could create something out of it
Yeah.
that somebody would buy for a few bucks. And I'm not talking about just what you said. It's I think that the thing that we notice, both of us notice about Mason Curry is, well, one, I've read in his Substack that he started that blog as a way to avoid his own writing. It was a procrastination thing. Uh, and he started from a deep personal interest. He was like, how the fuck do these people do it? You know,
Mhm.
I'm having a lot of trouble with this. How did they do it?
Right.
And that's how he got all the data. So if there's anything that you're really interested in, like how the fuck do you solve this part of my creative um work, how do other people solve it, because it's a problem for me, then
Yeah.
you can look there, because then you're solving a problem for yourself as well as creating something you can sell.
Ah, beautiful. 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 I love it. I love it. It's not just look at what are your resources, but what are your challenges.
What are your challenges?
And and then make the assumption, which is probably a correct assumption, that there's a lot of other people that are challenged by the same thing.
Yeah, and
And-
th- grab the energy that comes from that, because I am a lot more motivated when I'm solving my own challenge,
Mm,
or trying to get data that will help me solve my own challenge. I'm very much more of a proselytizer about that because I think it's so interesting. Like when I was talking to Sarah Calabro about systems, I immediately
right.
told you, I told at least two other people, um, just in the course of my days, because I found it just so useful and I
Yeah.
wanted to spread the word. So that makes the marketing piece not a chore, but a sort of a energy vibe that you can ride,
Mhm.
which makes it
Yeah.
easier.
The other, maybe this is another conversation, but once you come up with your idea, how do you continue with that sustainability
Yeah.
piece to get it in front of an audience
Yeah.
and out to other people? And that, always, I think that's where the rubber hits the road often.
Or the mud flaps hit the thrift table, because
Yeah.
yeah, you've got to recognize that what you've done is something people want, and that so first you got to make it, and then you got to figure out how to get it to people.
Yeah.
Is that what
Yeah.
you're saying, or something else?
Yeah, it's the first piece is going through this logic process of thinking about, what assets do I have that somebody might find interesting and helpful?
Yeah.
What challenges do I have that I can learn more about that others might find interesting and helpful? And then it's, how do I get it to an audience? And I think part of that too is understanding, you know, does this need to go ballistically huge and make, obscene amounts of money for you? Or does it just need to find 10 people a week?
I think we can never ever ask the question, does this need to go ballistically huge? Because it if the answer is yes, it needs to go ballistically huge, then you've got a problem, because you've got to make something go ballistically huge without putting any effort into it. And
Mhm.
if you're saying no, it doesn't need to go ballistically huge, well, that's obvious, right? That's
Yeah.
clear. That's what it's not meant. Your volume piece is not meant to go ballistically huge. If that happens, great. but it's got to live or
Mhm.
die on the 10 units a month that you can sell without turning your whole business around, you know? That's my
Yeah.
opinion.
Well, no, and I agree, and I say that because you don't want to put more pressure on yourself,
Yeah,
right?
it's sort of pointless to think in terms of, oh, how big can I get with this before you've even sold one, you know? Like
Mhm.
I don't think it's helpful. I think it's counterproductive
Yeah.
to think
Yeah.
about it that
Well,
way.
and I think it's part of that coming into it with the right mindset.
Yeah.
That, it doesn't have to be a big, huge thing.
No.
It just has to be enough.
Yeah.
And so understanding what is enough,
Yeah.
and and then that very, very tricky part of how do I get it out there? How do
Yeah.
I, let people find out about it? And again, there's the herd of brown wildebeests going in the same direction. How do you paint yourself pink and go in the opposite direction?
Yeah.
And,
Which is
you
like
know,
the purple cow question. I mean, really, we're
and,
talking about a minimum viable product again. The mug is not the
mhm,
sculpture. Um, it's got to have you in it. It's got to have your DNA in it. Otherwise, they just go buy another mug somewhere. But and this is metaphor for your thing. Um, what your thing could be doesn't have to be an object, obviously. It can be anything. But um, yeah, the idea that you want to stand out, absolutely, you do.
mhm,
You also want to be useful, right? That's the part that matters. If you're
mhm,
useful, then you don't need to be pink too. Maybe being useful is your pink, I guess.
mhm.
I'm sort of,
Yeah. No, I think that's really good. It made me immediately remember that, for example, when we were starting the podcast, I went
yeah,
out, I was thinking, what are the things that you need to do? Like, when you're prepping for episodes and you have a production
yeah,
cycle. And then I thought it'd be great for us to have some kind of a list, one to just know what others have thought and that kind of thing. And I found very quickly, I think I paid like $15, and it's a one-page PDF list
yeah,
of here's what you do for when you have a production cycle for a podcast.
yeah,
And we didn't end up using that specific list, but it did inform
yeah,
the process that we developed.
yeah,
And so it can be as simple and easy as that. And I think
exactly.
getting that out in front of other people, again, it's, the trick is in the execution. But when you're that narrow and focused about it, I
Yeah.
think it's a lot easier to figure that piece out.
I think so too. It's kind of it is it might be as simple as SEO. You might have Googled,
Hmm.
a podcast production list and come up with it maybe hit the first page or whatever. There was something about it that caught your eye. It was probably thorough but not too complicated. Um, it probably, as you say, it gave us a framework. We didn't end up doing, using it as a Bible or anything, but we had to start somewhere. And maybe that's what the unsaturated opportunity is. It's finding the people who are looking for the answer that need to start somewhere,
Hmm.
that you can be a reliable, helpful, like,
Hmm.
supplier to, basically. So you're
Yeah.
changing, in a way, you're telescoping, or was it shrinking maybe? Excuse me, we're a helpful supplier to people who want to have a publishable book. In your case, you write the book for them. In my case, I help them take it from a manuscript with issues to a publishable book. Maybe our expertise is a slice of that. It's like a
Mhm.
shrunken version of that. And I'd have to really go through some kind of, like you say, some kind of logic tree before I would know where to start.
Mhm.
I mean, I did write a book about how to work with an editor because I was answering questions that clients were giving me, and just wrote a book about it. But it doesn't have to be even that complicated. It can be
Mhm.
much simpler. So
Yeah, I mean, it could be a checklist for outlining a nonfiction book,
yeah,
right? And I think, there's something too in what you said just now that stood out, which is there's sort of these three qualities that it should have. One is reliability, two is authenticity, and three is helpfulness.
Yeah. Otherwise, just
Um,
don't do it.
yeah, you don't want to be the bib beaver.
No kidding. Yeah,
Twist your heart on something.
the
Uh,
webinar weirdo who's, flapping his arms because he's really got nothing new to say, and he's roped in these
yeah,
two people you respected who found out they were in a cheesy sales webinar partway through it.
yeah, yeah. Talk about pushing rope, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Yeah.
but I think that's that point is we either by intention or unintention try and add too much complexity.
Yeah.
And so simplify, 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 simplify. Is this in engineering, the most eloquent solution is the simplest
Yeah.
solution,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And, over engineering is like the greatest sin an engineer can do. And
Right.
I think we're trying to get to that thought of what is the simplest thing.
Yeah.
And I'm a big fan of writing lists and peeling away and that kind of thing. So that's part of my logic process.
Yeah.
But there's also like maybe hopefully somebody listens to this podcast, it sparks some thinking, the subconscious goes to work and they're walking, they're doing their regular daily walk and a really nice idea hits.
Yeah.
It could be as simple as that. But I think there needs to be some intentionality around, is this the most elegant solution, or can I even make this simpler?
Yeah. And then I would say, along with that kind of thinking, is just do one. Do one. Don't let it take too long. Don't overthink it. Get something that's hits those three marks. It's authentic. It's useful. I forgot the third one. Anyway,
Reliability, authenticity, and helpfulness.
Yeah. So hit those three marks with one thing. It's just one thing. You can do another thing in 6 months. It doesn't have to be the only thing you ever make, that you want to use as that. You can have a little family of them, and then people can buy three at a time if they, this one, this one for $10 less or whatever. It's a way of kind of taking this intellectual capacity you have in our field anyway, and making it something that somebody wants and needs, and you're making it easy for them to say yes to it. And then you're not worried if they want to hire you. Maybe they'll end up wanting to hire you for a much bigger project down the road, but that's not really the point. The point is to take some of the pressure off your production of these very big, the sculptures, whatever, the very big projects, the sort of the ones that you need to follow through on for weeks and months, and have something small and easy that if you only sell 5 the first month, who cares? You made it, it's out there. If you want to pull it off and do an improved version based on feedback or just because you've had a better idea, nothing's stopping you.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and as simple as a PDF checklist for how to approach pottery or how to approach joke writing. I play guitar. I am a huge sucker for anybody who can find a better way to list how to do triads.
Yeah, there you go.
Right.
Yeah. And yeah. And keep in mind too that every man and his dog has a free download. So if you're asking people to pay $5 for yours, it's got to be more than what they can get for free. Otherwise, that'll be the decision point for me as a consumer. I'm not going to pay extra if I can't see the whole thing. And if you can see it, you can copy it. So obviously you can't show it to the person in its complete state. I mean, if it's an art like a mug or something, then that's a little different because then they need a mug. They know what a mug looks like and what a mug does. So,
Yeah.
if you're a knowledge worker like we are, it's a different kind of situation. You've got to have more value added than the free people do, and you've got to figure out what that is.
Yeah.
And, this is part
Yeah,
of
that
it.
reminds I'm a big sucker. Like I believe in luck.
Yeah.
I think there is good luck and bad luck, and I have there's the definition of luck, intersection of opportunity, preparedness, blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah.
Yeah.
Right. I'm talking about luck.
Yeah.
And so like I'll go out and buy these silly little bracelets.
Right.
Somebody spends about 3 seconds. It's just a piece of string and maybe they say a prayer over it. Good enough,
Yeah.
you know.
Right. Okay. So that's cool.
I'm gonna do that. I'll be like, oh, okay, I'll pay $3.99 plus shipping.
I mean, why wouldn't you, right? Yeah. I mean, maybe I should offer
Why not?
magic writing pens.
Yeah, there you
I
go.
you know what? I think I can actually offer a pen that's not a different pen. It's a pen that has had a prayer said over it for your writing. And I firmly believe that if you believe in yourself, you can do anything. So that's might be my thing.
Yeah, that could be it. You're down at the Vancouver Sistine Chapels, you know. You go in there with a box of number 2 pencils and walk around,
Magic
floating.
pencils. Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
magic pencils. Put the magic in. Get the magic in.
Oh my God. You know what? I bet there's a whole bunch of stuff out there that we don't even know about.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure. I am sure. But, what we're trying to do, I think, for our listener here is, we're definitely wrestling with this unsustainability piece. And this is one idea. It's something, we've obviously talked about products and that kind of thing in the past. Now, I think, as with all things, when you go out and give it an effort, you refine it, so you bring something new to it. And I think we're trying to figure out unsustainability, how to beat it. We'll have more ideas.
Yeah. Thanks so much for listening to Gifted Underachievers, the podcast for mid-level creatives with delusional ambitions. You can find us on iTunes, Spotify, and anywhere else you listen to podcasts. Hope you have a great creative week.